Today, we're going to be talking about the top 3 things you can do to get danker buds out of your next harvest. But before we do, this video is brought to you by Real Growers Recharge. If you want stronger, healthier plants, you got to check out Recharge. Bigger roots for bigger fruits. Check it out over at realgrowers.com. All right, so if you want to grow dank buds, you're in the right place. Come on, Heisey, you ready?
I am ready, man. Let's get into it. You said you had 3 tips for us today.
Come on, the top 3 things, the top 3 factors for getting dank buds.
All right, let's get into it. What's number 1?
Can you guess?
I can, but I want you to say it.
Genetics, man. You can buy all the fancy equipment you want. If you don't have good genetics, if you got some reg seed or something that's the best it can do to 100% of its genetic potential is to make mids, good luck, man.
It's never going to be able to go past what it's
foundational. Yes, everything else we're going to talk about is to allow the plant to grow to 100% of its genetic potential.
But it's got to have that genetic potential.
IMO. So there we are. Number 1 is good genetics.
Okay, so help me out. How do we find or how do we know that we're getting good genetics?
All right, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but ask your friends. Ask the internet. Look for somebody that has a good reputation. There are so many breeders out there. There are a lot of seed banks. My personal seed bank is Seeds Here Now. I know the guy. He's got a good reputation. If there's a problem, he'll hook you up, so something like that. But I would look on the internet because the cream rises to the top when it comes to the breeders.
Okay, help me understand something. I know that there's certain strains out there, and then there's growers or cloners or breeders of those strains. What's coming to mind is J.R. Token's Cherry Paloma.
Sure.
Everybody goes crazy over that. So how does that key into why is his strain so much favored over other Cherry Palomas?
Well, that's just when you have a pack of 10 seeds. That's the fun thing about seeds is they can be all very different or they can be all slightly different. You might get one that turns a little purple at the end or one that flowers a few days faster or one that grows a little taller or a little fatter. That's what you're looking for in seeds.
Okay, so that is when people are doing seeds, they're kind of exploring the genetics, and then once they find one that they like, you can duplicate those genetics, and that's where the cloning
That's where the cloning is, yeah.
Okay, so we figured out how to find some good genetics or how to pheno hunt. Is that what you say?
Sure.
Is that what the kids say?
That's what they say, but you don't have to. You can go to your local clone store, if it's a good one, and buy a clone and you're in business, man. You've got your good genetics there. Just the most important thing is starting with good genetics. And if I was going to recommend something, I would recommend you start with a known clone that you know what to expect, as opposed to seeds where you can say, hey, this one's heavy feeder, light feeder, flowers early.
Okay.
There's a lot of diversity there.
Okay, so I found somebody who's got a good clone. I saw their plant. I'm like, dude, that's amazing. I want that. I get these great genetics.
Right.
What's the next thing that I can do to make sure I really get the most out of that cut?
Well, now we got to bring her home, and we got to make her happy. We got to put her in a good environment. Think about what happens. I mean, these are living things, so it's not too hard to put yourself in that situation. Okay, you can have great genetics, and if you come home in a 100-degree house with 80-90% humidity, you're probably not going to perform all that well, right? Same thing if you put me in a 50-degree house. I'm probably not going to perform all that well.
Okay, so creating the proper environment. That's one of the great things about grow tents and the amount of control they give you over the environment.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, think about it. Light is your energy. So you need the right amount of light. You need to be able to breathe. For us, we breathe oxygen. Plants breathe CO2. But if you don't have enough air to breathe, you're certainly not going to be able to perform. And then there's nutrition. If I don't have any food in the cupboards, I'm certainly not going to be able to perform either. I might be able to stay alive, but I'm probably not going to thrive. I certainly am not going to live up to 100% of my genetic potential.
Okay, so environment, and then you also mentioned nutrition. I think you said that nutrition was the third key thing. Is it as in, you said we needed to put it as number 3 because
plants use light as the energy. They need a bunch of light, or at least the more light, the better performance up to a point. CO2, carbon, that is your macronutrient. Plants build themselves. They're made out of that carbon. So giving the plant more of that is a huge benefit. They need a little bit of the nutrients to put it all together, to synthesize it into plant material. But compared to the amount of carbon and the amount of light energy they need, and the amount of water, the nutrients is a very small part of that.
Okay, so it is something that's important.
Oh, it's necessary, absolutely necessary. But if you take the amount of nutrient compared to the amount of carbon, carbon's your macronutrient. Yeah.
Okay, so number one thing, genetics. Number two thing, get your environment dialed in. And then number three thing is
nutrients.
Now you focus on your nutrients.
Get them fancy boutique $500 bloom boosters, man.
Well, it's funny because I go into the grow store, I go online, and most of the conversation is about nutrients, but you're saying it's the third most important thing.
I mean, you can only buy a light once, right? So what's that leave you to buy? Carbon, CO2? I mean, I don't think there's a fortune selling CO2 at the grow store. So what's that leave? It leaves nutrients.
So it's those greedy marketers.
No, I mean, I love the hydro business, okay? I want my hydro store to stay open, but there may have been some deliberate overcomplication of things.
Okay. All right, so number one, genetics. Number two, environment. Number three, nutrients.
Can I drop this, Mike?
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Please don't.
Yeah, that makes good sense to me. It sure does. But what about you? What is your best tip for growing dank buds? Come on, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommending over here. Come on, click.